Hey everyone, it is Vian from Mountain Road Ride here, and today we're going to be talking about running. So even though I dedicate most of the content on this channel to cycling, today I want to talk to you about a specific running product that I discovered recently. That product being the Run Treadmill Smart Speed Sensor. So what this product allows you to do is basically take any old treadmill and give it that connectivity feature that you want for an application like, for instance, Zwift. So let's get started and check out the features of this particular product. So when you receive your Run unit and start the unboxing, you will find all the necessary accessories to get going with the installation process. In there you'll find your USB charging port that connects to the back of the unit. You'll also find your adhesive stickers that can attach that holder to the treadmill, and which your Run unit will then sit. And then also the last step to that puzzle will be your reflective stickers that you're going to be sticking along your treadmill belt in order for this unit to detect your running speed. It basically uses the time for one sticker to move from one optical sensor to the other. So think of this in a simple physics calculation. You know the distance between the two optical sensors, you know the time that it takes for one sticker to move from one end to the other, and that essentially then allows you to calculate the running speed. Now it's important to note that even if you stick multiple stickers to your belt, it's not measuring the time between different stickers, but instead it measures the time it takes for a single sticker to move from one optical sensor to the other. So just bear that in mind whenever you are placing multiple stickers on your belt. Now I felt like that is a much better design, and I was looking forward to put that to the test to see if I could get better results with this unit as compared to some of the other measures that I've used in the past, like those foot pods. So now let's head into my experience with this Run unit. And I'm going to break it down into two different steps. I'm going to definitely talk about the installation process, and then along with that also the performance numbers that I received afterwards. Alright, so now let's head into that installation process, and to be honest, it should be a fairly straightforward process. You get this nice little information booklet in your box when you first receive your Run, and in there it breaks it down. You're essentially supposed to use the double-sided tape, put your holder that the Run unit sits in on the side of your treadmill so that it overlaps your belt just ever so slightly, and then as a final step just place your stickers along the belt spaced out at about 12 to 18 inches, maybe 3 or 4 of those stickers, don't overdo it, and then trust that the stickers will be detected by the optical sensors on the bottom of the unit. Both those components to the installation process led to a little bit of frustration for my particular case. Now, just to set the stage, I think it's worthwhile to note that I kind of threw almost the worst case scenario at this Run unit when it came to the treadmill that I was using to try and fit the unit to. Now, first of all, it's a fairly old treadmill. By now it's near almost a decade old, and it's had some good use throughout its life. The belt, it's fairly greasy, even the edges of it kind of warps a little bit, so that made fitting stickers even harder. And then what really made it a bit of a complicated fit was the fact that this particular treadmill, unlike the ones that you find today, did not have enough of a ledge. Let's start with the installation of the holder. Now that was a process in itself, and I had to experiment with a bunch of solutions there. The only way I finally managed to get this unit seated on the treadmill correctly was by bringing in a small piece of wood, and that's what you'll see in my shots, is that I had to get a small wooden block, place that on the treadmill, and then place the holder on top of the piece of wood, and that finally seated it in the correct position to give just enough room between the belt and the unit. So problem number one solved eventually by the use of a little piece of wood. Now hopefully you won't have that same issue. If you've got a newer treadmill, then maybe you've got that ledge on the side of the treadmill and that won't happen to you. Next up comes the installation of the stickers, and this is where things got really fun. Trying to get these small reflective stickers to stay on the treadmill belt, because no matter how hard you push down on those stickers, they just have the tendency to fly off after a couple of revolutions of that treadmill belt. And I was at the point where I couldn't even get through a 5K run without losing at least 2 or 3 of my 4 stickers that I had on the belt. So that was not a sustainable solution, and I had to look for other ways to get those stickers to stay on the belt. If you're watching this video, I can highly recommend that you use this particular method. Put down a small strip of duct tape first. That fills in the divot-like surface of the treadmill belt, and then place your reflective sticker on top of the duct tape. The duct tape does a really good job of sticking to the surface, and then it provides a nice flat surface where you can stick your treadmill sticker to. Alright, so finally, after getting the unit to work correctly, I could get to the fun part, which is testing this unit and seeing how it performs when I connect it to an app like Zwift. And this is where my feelings towards the unit changed quite substantially. So as much as I was frustrated with the process during installation, once I got it to work, I just couldn't be happier with this particular unit. It did exactly what I wanted it to do, and that is to measure the treadmill speed independently of what the treadmill was reading on the console. And finally, I felt like I was getting much more accurate numbers from this unit. So let's talk about the speed accuracy of this Run unit. And I think that is the biggest reason why I wanted to get my hands on the Run, was to confirm that built-in intuition that my treadmill just wasn't correct. I have known for a while that the paces that I saw with both the treadmill console and then also the speed that I was getting from something like a footpod just wasn't in line with what I know to be a more realistic pace when I run, say, outside. So I needed a way to verify that pace, and when I relied on the measurements from the Run, I could for the first time tell that this is just much more in line with what I feel when I actually run outside. So just from a feel perspective, I could already sense that this is now much more accurate. Even when I tested this throughout a wide range of speeds, I would go from anywhere up from 10 kilometers per hour all the way through to 17 kilometers per hour. I found a very, very consistent discrepancy between what my treadmill was showing and what the Run was measuring. And for me, that discrepancy was set at exactly 0.5 kilometers per hour. So I also knew that no matter how fast or slow I was going, I could always know that this thing was reading consistently at a different speed to what the treadmill was. I felt that was another indicator that I could really rely on this speed measurement for the fact that it stayed so consistent throughout that wide range of paces. The next thing that I want to mention with regards to the Run is the cadence measurement. So I've been going on about the speed accuracy and its ability to measure your running speed, but what this Run unit can actually do in addition to measuring your speed is also capture your run cadence. So it does that through the accelerometers in the unit. As your foot strides hit the treadmill each time, it will detect that vibration and in that way can measure your running cadence. I felt like this was very, very accurate. I've got quite a good history of data that I've collected from other running devices, and I know more or less in which kind of a cadence range I run in most often, and this unit was definitely spot on in that exact same range. The only sort of outlier with regards to that measurement was when I went into very slow walking paces. I think what happens in those instances that those vibrations are just not intense enough to actually trigger the accelerometers in the unit, and hence you do find a few dropouts in terms of the cadence measurement whenever you're at a walking pace. So in my case, most of the time I very rarely use the walking pace, mainly just in a few short recovery phases. So for me, that isn't the end of the world to not have that cadence measurement in those instances. Other than that, it did an absolutely perfect job at capturing the cadence. One last performance feature that I want to address with this run unit is the convenience factor, or the fact that you don't need to calibrate this unit for each particular user. So for me, that is one of the biggest selling points of this particular product. If you're in a multi-user environment, a household where you and a couple of other family members want to all make use of the treadmill and run on an application like Zwift, there's no need to recalibrate your running sensor for each particular user. So in my case, if my wife Kristen wants to jump on the treadmill right after I've done a workout on Zwift, then there's no need to recalibrate that once you have it in place. That convenience factor of setting it up once, you plug it into the outlet, and then it's a case of sort of a set and forget. That's how you want technology to work, always on in the background, and you don't need to fuss with it going forward. So for me, that particular aspect of the run really gives it a clear distinction from other running sensors on the market, where once you've got that heavy work of the installation done, you essentially just use it and you don't have to worry about it in the future again. Alright, so there you have it. Those are my thoughts on this run unit. It obviously comes, as you've heard from my experiences, with maybe a few difficulties when you are trying to get it set up. Hopefully in your case, if you own a newer treadmill, and also if you follow my sticker hack, things could just be a little bit easier and you can get to your run being operational so much quicker, because once you've got it in place, things really turn and the run comes into its own, and it can just provide you with really useful speed accuracy when you are running indoors. My recommendation would also be that if your intent is to get this unit to maybe use at a gym or maybe a shared community buildings gym, then this might not be the unit for you. It's a little bit harder to get it installed. I think, although possible, it might not be the easiest solution out there. But if you are planning to get this unit for your own personal treadmill where you can stick it on, set and forget, do that heavy lifting of getting it in place, then it is absolutely a viable option if you are looking for a more accurate way to capture your running speed when you are running on a treadmill. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you like this content, and we'll be sure to be back in the future with more running and riding content here on Mountain Road Ride. Until then, I'm Björn from Mountain Road Ride. See you next time.